teammates, they find me when they can. I just make the right play, hopefully.
Gerald, great bounce back game today. I know you've really been wanting to get a hot game, especially from deep. How did you feel about those looks from three-point range that you were having today?
They were all great looks. Shout out to my teammates for constantly believing in me and getting me open. This past couple stretches of games haven't been my best shooting games, but as long as my teammates and coaches believe in me, the outside noise, I just try to quiet it down as much as I can and just focus on the next right play.
Gerald, first half, you went down hard. Then when you checked back into the game, immediately hit a three. What was going through your mind in that moment?
Next play, I couldn't control the injury that I had. I fell on my back pretty hard. And as soon as I got treatment for it, man, I was ready to go back in. Like I said, next play mentality. So as soon as I got in, I was just on the court and ready to make the shot, ready to shoot it. And it so happened to go in today, so it was good.
Seems like the game really flipped after halftime. Can you talk a little bit about what was said at halftime?
We usually come out, we're a very good second half team. This game, we didn't really play our normal traditional defense. We did a lot more switching because they're a better cutting team. So the message was, man, just guard your yard, limit them to one possession and rebound. We had 12 turnovers in the first half. We limited it to 2. And I think that was a big area of growth for our team going in the second half, is just taking care of the ball, making the right play, and just ultimately guarding the yard.
Another dominant home win. How does it feel to just be back at home in front of those students and fans?
It feels great. Hopefully we keep having fans come to the game and stuff like that, just feeding off that energy. It gets real loud in here. So just feeding off that energy.
All right, David.
Rafael, and again, you're talking about this, but another incredible sort of performance, and it's safe to say that teams aren't really surprised by this anymore going up against you, that you're doing this. Can you talk about how you sort of continued to perform at this level and really continue to sort of surpass expectations and keep putting together better and better stat lines, better and better performances as teams are game planning more for you?
Yeah, kind of like what I said earlier. I'm just going to give all the praise to my teammates. They instilled the confidence in me, throwing it in there, trusting me that I'll make the right play. And even at practice, they talking to me, making sure I make the right play, and I just try to translate that to the game as much as possible.
A little dust up with Neskovic there towards the end of the game. What happened?
He just, kicked me. I think he tried to get in my head a little bit, but kind of like what G said, next play, I'm not really worried about that. At the end of the day, we got the win, so that's what matters.
So. Any other questions for student athletes? All right, thanks, guys.
Thank you.
Thanks, guys.
Thank you.
Thanks, Rob. Appreciate y'all. Appreciate y'all.
Good stuff.
Thank you. All conference. Bless.
So what should I say to the Major Madness to myself? Well, so there's yeah, you're not watching it.
We found it. What were we talking about the other day that going on there? The argument. We were talking about something that we heard like on the video. It was Coach Kids. After,
oh no.
which game? Was it I think it was. We were in Coach Kids.
What's up?
Looking great in the suit.
Oh, this is like the suit crowd, right? Abe and David, are you in the suits? I mean, you're agnostic. You're agnostic. Okay.
Yes.
All right.
We'll start with Owen State and then do questions. Coach.
Yeah, it was a great win for us. I thought, Richmond's a really good defensive team with or without Delani Hunt. They've been so good defensively, basically in every game. And then, I thought there's a level of desperation when you're trying to win, and there's a little bit of like, hey, I don't feel a tremendous amount of pressure, so they let it fly, and I thought their shooting numbers came up, which I kind of expected. I thought, I think they're a better shooting team than the numbers had indicated, and so, and I think historically, actually, some of these guys have shot the ball better at some other, other places and stuff. So, what I'm proud about is the the recipe was bad. Like, we're turning it over. They sped us up. They're shooting the ball well. That's a bad recipe for a game like this. And then I thought our response was terrific in the second half. Only 2 turnovers, tremendous defensive effort, great shot diet. So, yeah, really happy about our response.
Questions?
I mean, coming out, I think 10 of Richmond's first 12 shots were from 3.
Yeah.
Was that something you guys were expecting in the game plan?
They're difficult to defend with the pace at which they move. It's very hard to simulate that with your scout team. I knew that we would go to switching at 5 positions, just try to hold it for a little while to see if we could hold the fort until, like, in the second half there, we were down 11 or whatever, and we went to switch 5, and then we got ourselves a lead or whatever. So I knew I was going to do it. I just didn't. I was hoping maybe like we could hold on to it for a while, and then with about 4 minutes or so or 6 minutes left in the first half, we're kind of like, man, you know what, we got to do this. And so I thought it slowed them down a little bit, and obviously less threes than I made one late or whatever. So.
Great minutes from Jacoy Hutchinson
Yeah.
on the stretch tonight. Can you just talk about how great it is to have 2 true point guards on your team?
Proud of him. It's hard to do. You go from being the starter to not being the starter, and that's hard for young people. It's hard for anybody. And his attitude's been really good. And I've told him there's really no world where we can be as good as we can be without great contribution from him. Just maybe in a role that's different than what he had envisioned to start the season. And every game that we've played, that we've won now in the league, and obviously Christian had kind of an antibody experience in the Dayton game. But those other games, like Jacoy's been a huge part of closing those games and winning those games. And so I think that's it's a good lesson, I think, for all of us to know you got to kind of hang in there, even when it's difficult.
Okay. Coach, 12 turnovers in the first
Yeah.
half, only 2 in the second.
Yeah.
How did you take care of the ball better in the last 20 minutes?
I mean, we kind of screamed at them to take care. We didn't get enough shots in the first half. We had like 19 shots to their 26. It's like, hey, when we got shots, we got offensive rebounds. We did what we did. Again, I think Jacoy probably had a hand in that. He was very sure with the ball, and so I would just say we were better with the ball across the board, more sure with it, 2-hand catches, things like that.
One of the things that stuck out the most to me, Darren Buchanan didn't even attempt a field goal tonight.
Well, he got fouled a few times. Yeah.
Would you like him to, be a little
Yeah.
more
I mean, I think especially against this team, they're so gapped up, that every time he catches it against this particular team, they really load up the lane. You got to be able to move and make quick decisions. And then everybody's got to be able to quickly get off it. The next guy, the next play, the next closeout is probably the play. And you're going to have to make some threes. Like, we go 11 of 27. Obviously, Gerald comes out of his slump, makes 5. Like, to beat this defense, you're going to have to make some threes. And so, obviously, that's not Darren's game. But I thought he played a good game. David?
So Coach, I mean, I think if you were to talk to yourself like the beginning of the season, I don't think you would have envisioned, beating Dayton, beating St. Louis, having this record, and sort of winning these games the way you have, maybe with Darren having a smaller role, Jacoy on the bench. Can you just talk about how you've been able to sort of adjust so far in conference play,
Yeah.
still continue to find success with maybe different ways than you maybe thought?
Well, I think, the first thing is the whole, let's go backwards and say Garrett. Like, you got a guy who, to me, is one of the best players in the league when he's healthy. So, like, we're 15-6, 4-4 in the league without, like, one of the best players in the league. And let's start there. So then that affects other guys. When you have a guy that's 6'8" that shoots 40% from 3 and gets that amount of rim attempts and gets defensive rebound, like, it affects everybody else. And so we start the season playing a certain way, but the main thought is the defense. Like, we need to improve defensively. Obviously, we have. Not so much tonight from 3, but overall, vastly better defensive team, much more difficult team to play against defensively. That requires a lot of guys to play. Like, you can't play 5 or 6 guys playing defense the way we're playing it. And so, with that, the defense is really starting to sort of be a staple. And now you're trying to figure out, okay, how can we be a little bit better offensively? And with the way that we want to play offense, which is, We're not going to take many mid-range shots. I think we're like top 8 in the country in that. We're like in the top 2 or 3 percentile and getting corner threes and getting cutting baskets, things like that. Like we're playing, whatever you want to call it, an efficient style with the personnel we have. And there are some things, the added shooting, the playmaking from some other guys, whatever, that you feel like, okay, there's enough of a sample size both ways now to feel like, hey, this is where what we're going to have to do in these games. It does, but it also doesn't mean that like whatever is in the past is never going to be utilized or come back. Whatever. It's like some of it is like guys' injuries, their play, different things. Jacoy's a perfect example. Like that, I think after Christian Jones' game the other night against St. Louis, that Jacoy would play 25 minutes. No, like we're just trying to win the games. We're trying to do whatever we can to give ourselves the best chance to win each game. And I think last thing I'll say on that is like you got to have great people to do that. Like the kids have to be really good and bought in and understand. And I think a little bit of losing last year creates like this hardness about what's important, right? And so. Like all of us, like you get hardened by the bad things that happen, and then you start to understand what's really important. And I think we got a group that is there right now. Now, can I keep them there for the next 5 or 6 weeks? I don't know, but I'm going to try. But I'm also not going to tell anybody, hey, you shouldn't play well. I'm telling everybody, like, hey, I'd like you to play as well as you can within what you do, and because that will help us on some nights, maybe on every night,
Any other questions?
And just lastly, it's your first win in the suit as a GW coach?
No, I thought I beat Richmond in the suit the first year, no?
I might be wrong.
You might have to check. You might have been in.
But again, would you consider another game in a suit this year?
I don't think so. Yeah. First of all, short guys, as you know, Abe, like, it's hard for us with suits. Like, things don't just hang on short, stocky, strong guys like me, the way they do on like tall guys, slender basketball-looking people. So like everything's got to be like tailored to a T. My Miami tailors, I can't get the stuff to them. I don't know if I trust anybody up here. I trust the guys in Miami, in Coral Gables. But yeah, I don't know. It's just so much more comfortable the other way. But I do see the other side of it because I think there's some coaches that feel like, hey, we lose a little bit of our professionalism when we don't wear professional-looking clothes. But it's a lot more comfortable. So.
Thanks, Coach.
Thanks, everybody.
All right. See ya.
Appreciate it, Coach.
Coach.
See ya.